Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the weekly program. Um, Today we're gonna have Travis Pacheco in our show. Uh, I'm really excited to talk with my friend. I'm gonna join him. Oh yeah, I'm well excited for this. Just waiting for Travis to come in the conversation. Oh, let me.
What's going
Oh,
on, man?
hey, buddy, how are you? You
Good.
good?
Yeah, you explained to me how this works, and I felt really bad because there's been you were saying like I'll invite you.
Oh, sorry. Let me. Something happened here. Let me put him again.
Oh no, I don't
Oh,
know what
cool.
happened. Yeah,
Sorry.
no, I was saying you invited me. You were explaining how this works. You either invite or I can press the invite myself button, and I didn't know that. I thought that was just like inviting myself to the chat. So there's
All
been
right.
So I feel bad for like all the artists when like COVID was happening that were doing live streams. I was like, oh, like I want to participate in the Q&A, so I'm like inviting myself to their videos. I feel so bad now, and also like extremely embarrassed of what was happening.
No, man, no worries. It's all good. I think everybody will understand, or they would just be like keen to have you on their live. You're really cool. So
Yeah, I think I did this to one of my friends, and they were like, "Oh, Travis has tried to invite himself," and I was like, "I don't know what that means. I just want to be part of the conversation. Like, what's going on?" But so now
oh
now
man.
they know.
But brother, first of all, man, for people that might don't know you, I want you to introduce yourself. We're gonna go like later on in the conversation about how we met and everything. But
Yeah.
like in the present moment and now, what do you do and what bands you play and yeah, who are you? I know you, but
Yeah.
present yourself to.
Uh, yeah, my name's Travis. Hi. I live in California in the Bay Area. It's actually like really sunny out right now. Like you can see, it's like the sun is shining and there's like a palm tree, which is like stereotypical California. I play in a couple bands. I play in a band called Daydream that the singer Daydream, who's on here, Scott, did your new record. I play in another band too called Together We Can Rule the Galaxy with some friends that I met from work, which is like really funny. And then yeah, I'm a whole bunch of things. Like I'm a record collector. I have a son. I'm a husband and a father, and I did this for a friend's like thing, and I also said that I was opinionated. That's like one of my identifiers as well. So to know me is to love me, but you know,
Man,
it's
because
real.
I remember like in our record, like during the process of We Bless This Mess record, we were like, okay, let's show this to Travis because let's test if this is good, you know? Like
Yeah.
and we would always like send you some like demos or you show up in the studio and it's like, oh yeah, this is cool. I was like, oh cool.
Oh
Travis
yeah.
likes it, so it's all right.
Yeah, my like musical tastes like tend to and probably because when I was younger I listened to like older music and grew up on like my father's records. So now like I always say that my music taste always tends to be like real late. So like right now like and for a long time I guess growing up too my music has been focused in like the 90s era of music. So like all those bands can do no wrong. But then someone's like, "Hey, have you heard this band that came out like 2 years ago?" And it goes over my head. But I try. So for you to say like, let's see if Travis likes this, and for me to do it, that's like, oh, Travis likes a newer band, right? Like this is a good thing.
Also, brother, I know you as well, like from like even before I actually met you. Um, you had mentioned that you were like one of the first members of Lionheart as well, and
Oh,
there's like like a big community like from where I'm from, like in Portugal, like there's like a following of
yeah.
that band. Um, you also, yeah, you're like involved with that. You're involved like with a lot of other bands like throughout like your throughout the years.
Yeah.
And how I met you was a funny story because you're not like part of like Spanish love songs, but you were like replacing the bass player, and that's how I met you in Europe. Like, how was
Yeah.
that? How did that happen? Like, how you got contact with Spanish love songs, and like, how like the pre, how did it happen?
Yeah, I've been touring with bands pretty much since I got out of high school. I joined my first touring band. I graduated in 2005. My first touring band that was like doing more than like a weekend was in 2006. And hit the road kind of full time in 2008 to about 2012. And I was doing like 10 months out of the year with a bunch of different bands. I met Spanish Love Songs through Daydream, actually. We played a show with them, and I became good friends with them and just kind of like, like got to shoot the shit all the time. And so when we played together, me and Gabe, their bass player, formed a relationship. Gabe had his second son was born, and they had their band was starting to pick up steam through Schmaltz. So he was like, I can't do this touring. You should ask Travis, like he should do it. And so I talked to him, and I said, and they wanted me to, they offered it to me to do a U.S. and a Europe, and I hadn't been to Europe since probably March of 2011 or like May of 2011. I came over with the band called This Time Next Year, and so I was really like itching to come back. So I said I can't do the U.S. Because my son had been born earlier that year, but I was like I'll do Europe, and so they gave me a list of songs to learn, and I had known them, and I had known them from our bands of playing together. So like we played Fest together, we played like our showcases, I guess, together, our shows at Fest together. But I was experiencing Fest and going to see bands or whatever. So my guys partied with everyone other than Gabe. So they got to know everybody in the band. So I didn't. So Dylan will say, when I like came over, they were like, we don't know if he's anything like Kyle, our drummer, and Kyle is a maniac. He's absolutely crazy. So all they knew is that Scott, when he lets loose, he can be kind of wild, and Kyle is a maniac. And so they're like, we're inviting this guy into our van who we don't know anything about him. Gabe knows him, and Gabe's not here. And so yeah,
No,
so I did that. But yeah, and it was great, and we got to do 3 weeks together. I was familiar with Ducking Punches um, from Spanish Love Songs touring with them, but I hadn't met anyone. Like I didn't meet anybody. I met Greg very briefly, and
old
that was
Greg.
it. Old Greg, yeah, I met old Greg at Fest, and they were like, "Oh, this is like our guy. He's great." And that was it. So I didn't meet anybody, but it was, yeah, man, it was great.
Dude, and like how it was like the overall experience of that particular tour, like with it like UK and Europe, mainland Europe. How was that feeling like? Because it was a tour, it was 2018, so pretty recent, still. Um, how is touring in Europe like in days like this from like your perspective? Because like you grow up in America, and I've been there, and the scene is kind of like a little bit different. So how was like the experience of touring mainland Europe, one thing, and UK another?
I will always Europe, I will always say that I love touring Europe more than I love touring the States. And I will group the UK in with that too, because the hospitality is like so much better. And I I think that there's like artists everywhere, and I think that the UK and Europe have a lot of like great artists. But I feel like in the US there may be a drive to like lift those artists a little bit more. So there just seems a lot of like interest in like American bands, and possibly right because the American bands aren't going over there a lot, or a lot of like UK bands aren't coming over here. Like I know that if there were like great UK bands or great Europe bands coming over here, I would go see them. So because I don't know when they're going to come back. So I think that the interest for American bands over there is so much greater than like the like kind of local bands. So the hospitality is just like way better. Everyone is like so excited to meet people, and like hang out, and I love it personally, and I don't want to tour. That's why I took their tour versus the U.S. tour, because I don't want to tour in Cincinnati, Ohio. Sorry, Cincinnati, but I would rather like do that. The UK, the differences between the UK and Europe that I see, uh, I think the UK feels a little more familiar, just because like I'm able to like um, I guess just understand more, right? There's not very many like cultural differences, but I don't know if it's better. I think it's just more familiar. Like I don't feel like I'm out of place or I'm in a different country or whatever. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the corner store and grab something. But um, yeah, I don't know. I love it. I would
There,
rather be over there more than
there's
here.
a I'm checking out like in the comments a lot of good comments about your mustache, either in English and in Portuguese. Uh,
Yes.
Let me tell you something about Travis. Travis has some Portuguese roots, and that's how we kind of like connected also on this tour. He was my Portuguese brother on the tour.
Yes.
So so from that experience, an offer appeared in a table one day, and that offer was yeah, like what was the offer you offered me if I wanted to go to California?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if I can like say the full circumstances. I'll just do it. I don't drink, but I do from time to time like to uh, smoke the occasional joint here and there. And so someone said, someone said, oh, you should go talk to Nelson. Like, Nelson's outside. And so I was like, oh, okay. So then, and that's how we became, I think, close, right? It was just like, hey,
Yeah, yeah,
at the end of the show, like, look, come outside, let's smoke a joint. And I was like, oh yeah. And so we would, and so then we got to talking. That's how we got to know each other, and that's like, marijuana bringing people together. And um, and then we started, I was like talking about like my Portuguese family, and we got closer that way. And then I just said, you should come over to California. Like, come to California. Like, you meet some good people. We'll smoke some good weed. We'll eat some like good burritos. Like, it'll be fun. Like yes, you get to like write a record. You get to record a record, but it's like it'll be fun. It'll be like such a different experience, And I think Scott and Ashley and like our like shows and whatever we did was like good experiences to have, because yes, you did this record and you created this thing,
yeah, but
but there's so many memories that were around it, whether it was like food, or like seeing different, like, I guess Bay Area like
yeah,
punk rock
that was
cultural things, you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna see all these things, and to be fair, it just started with like back venue, smoking a joint, just being like, you know what you need to do, right, between puffs, like, and come out to California, we'll treat you right.
man. That was like the most amazing thing. Like from me, like the way I got into Ducking Punches also was uh like a weird circumstance, like their former guitar player had to leave, and I was like replacing him for a tour, and then I got there, so I wasn't actually supposed to be there, or I was, and you
Yeah.
the same thing, like,
Yeah.
and there's like two dots connected, and from like human interaction and like talks and friendship, um, it was possible for us, obviously with a lot of work and everything, to then create the experience that, like, the offer you said, like, oh, come over here, it's gonna be hella good, and it
Yeah.
was, it
Yeah.
was.
Like, I wouldn't I try not to speak on things that I don't like know. So like, for me to say like, yeah, you should come over, like, it's going to be good. Like, there was no doubt that you were going to meet good people, you were going to have good times. I said, like, I don't know what the shows are going to be like, but guess, like, we're going to have a good time either way. Scott's going to teach you how to surf. I think I seen Scott in there. Scott's going to teach you how to surf. Like, we're going to keep you pretty lifted the entire time, and you'll have a good time, right?
that was amazing, man. That was one thing, and the fact that I know that Bernardo is in this conversation. The fact that I was like surfing, and Bernardo's
Bernardo.
like, I won't go, I won't go. It's like, cool, cool, I'll surf. And then Bernardo's like, you know, there's sharks in this water. It's like, oh, cool. You just tell me like after I've been there for like 1 hour in the sea. Thank you,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, Scott, I can't surf to save my life. Like I have to wear glasses at all times, or else I just like and the sun's in my eyes, the salt water in my eyes. Like Scott laughs at me because I can't do it. Like I need my glasses, right? So it's
Sorry, brother.
so Scott. No, Scott will take you surfing. I'm on the beach with a book. It's ridiculous. But it's still
uh,
fun. Like we have our different things, and that's why I said it was like you come here like you should meet my guys. Like Spanish love songs. Like I love everyone in that band, and we're like super close. But like I was like, come to California, meet my guys. Like and they're so different. Like but they're the same, right? Like 'cause, like we're all connected some way, but Kyle is like so much different than Scott and I, and Scott is so much different from Kyle and I, and I'm, light years different as well. But we all like we create like such a good thing, for
man,
people. I think.
that is one thing like that I noticed like away from the beginning when I start like hanging with you guys like in California, watching you like practice like rehearse like band rehearsal and stuff. Dude, it felt like that band you have with like your 16-year-old brothers and like friends, when back in the days when you're like doing this like first band and you're like super excited to be with each other, like to joke with each other and stuff. I felt that like really cool connection in Daydream. And
Yeah,
yeah, and Mike, man, let's not forget about Mike.
yeah,
Mike is like
yeah.
the most European American guy I ever met, man.
And you know what's funny is those were Mike's first shows with us. I'm pretty sure, and so we had like rehearsed. Scott and Kyle and I, they might have been 16 or 17. I know Scott graduated high school early, and I graduated high school at 17. But I'm also a couple of years, or like 2 years older or something. So they've known each other through high school, and they were in a really great band before I met them, and I just liked their band. And Scott and I grew up down the street from each other, and I knew one of the guys in the band. They were like, "Yeah, come over. We're doing group vocals for these records." So literally, I've known them since they were 16. I was probably 18 at the time, and I joined their band. And we had always like staying close, and so the feeling is like, yes, these are my band. Like this is the band from when we were 16. We just have a different name. My friend said, when you guys get tired of playing your songs, you just break up your band and start a new one. And that's why the sound changes from like band to band. But it's like, I mean, but it's still like the same core group of 16-year-old
Yeah,
guys.
and I like highly recommend everybody that is in this live or can watch this later on IGTV or YouTube to go check out Daydream because it's a really cool band. New records and old records of that band, I really like them both. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
doing this plug
No,
for you, brother.
no.
uh,
Scott's writing new songs now. He was sending to me. I felt really bad. I haven't like I saw it and I was like, oh, I gotta do this. I gotta do this and listen to this. But I was like in the middle of something and I forgot. And then he sent me a second one. He's like, I don't know if anyone likes it, but like I've been writing these. No one's been responding. And I felt so bad because I was like, oh shit, I totally forgot. So he sent me 2 new demos that sound super great. So we'll see when like bands get back to normal. Bands aren't normal right now. So once
yeah.
they get back, there'll be some new cool stuff.
And dude, like we covered like a lot of ground in our conversation already. I want to like have a little bit of like perspective of like local perspective of like what is happening in the States right now.
Oh yeah.
Sorry to like
No.
cut the subject like so quickly, but we've been talking for 20 minutes. I wanted to
Yeah.
make a little bit of time for actually having like an opinion, a local opinion, because I think it's all over, right? Like this
Yeah.
riot, like not, I mean, yeah, it's a demonstration and with like a lot of reasons.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously kind of like what's been going on with like, especially police brutality for like the black community. Yeah, and I want to say the black community because it's black people of all genders, and I think that's really really important. And I think so. Like moving forward, I'll say the black community. The police have been doing this. I mean, I think as probably years and years and years back into history, right? I think we started, or at least I started to take notice here in California. I want to say in 2012, it happened with Oscar Grant, who was riding a BART train, and he was out with his friends going out on New Year's, and cops had BART police had pulled him over and tried to subdue him, and they ended up shooting him, and it was on video. And that was in Oakland, and I mean, I live in Pleasant Hill, is 20 minutes away, but Scott and I both lived in Oakland for a little bit, and so like the whole city like rioted behind that because I mean he didn't do nothing wrong, and then it's just been happening more and more and more. And it's been, we live in, we all have like cameras on our phones and videos on our phones.
Exactly.
So it's now being broadcasted like more and more and more. And there's been plenty of murders this year. And I think with George Floyd, I mean, that one was it was 9 minutes of a camera on what was happening, and people were like are just fed up, and people have been fed up, and there's these riots have happened before, and I don't unfortunately know if this is, I mean, I don't think this is going to be the last time it happens, which is like such a sad realization to say.
Because even with this all awareness and all the demonstrations and all the hard work everybody's doing, like the police is still acting violently,
Oh yeah, it's getting, I
like
mean, it's getting crazy. it's
and
it's crazy.
I don't get like my whole like the thing that really like messes with me is like the fact that human beings are not like in an understanding place where everybody can get along and respect everyone's lives. Why target a certain community to like for what? What's the purpose of this is really like evil. Like
Yeah,
why does I don't understand evilness. Like this sort of.
yeah, I did see a comment about like kind of like the destroying stores and the property, and I think I've been saying this with people, and I think it's important to understand that looters and protesters, those aren't the same, and that looting and protesting isn't like synonymous, right? Like you can protest without looting, and you can loot without protesting. So I think I wanted to address that because I saw that in the comments real quick. But I the police system is so deeply like rooted in not serving all communities, and I think that is like the large problem. I don't have the answer. I don't know how it's going to change. I know that that system. I don't To say it was broken means that at one point it was good, and then something happened and it broke. I don't know if it was ever had a good foundation to
Good
start,
point. Really
and
good point.
so I think that's a problem. I mean, I watched the 13th documentary that came out on Netflix when it came out, and then I rewatched it a couple nights ago. And you know, there's evidence throughout history that, and I mean, this is like history books, and we like live in a time right now where facts, like people literally, like our president is saying like alternative facts, like that's not a thing. So like these are facts. We have this written down. It was documented in history that we have all of these events that show that like this system was deeply rooted in a problem. Like it wasn't meant to serve all communities, and so we can't like like turn our our ideas away from like the facts, right? And
Exactly.
and I
And
think that that's really important. And like there's going to be levels of protesting and levels of activism, and I want to take this moment that if people are doing this their own way, but for the greater good, right? You need to, we can't be shaming each other. For instance, like there's this like global pandemic that's going on. I'm considered like a high risk person with my health. And so if I was to get sick versus if you were to get sick, it's going to be so much different, like the way that my body takes it. But at the same time, like I think I'm still trying to do my part and donate my time and my money towards the greater good, because I think it's extremely important. And I've been seeing a lot of like shaming online of like, if you're not out there doing it, you're not helping, and I don't believe that's the problem. I
do
think
you
that's also hurting.
do you think, this, obviously these are just like personal opinions, and for everybody that is watching, we're just like two friends talking, so this is like our perspective and opinion. So yeah, but one thing, brother, like, don't you ever notice that this like authoritarian system made of like police force and all this like kind of like other authoritarian forces, obviously it's more easy to see that they don't respect one community like and focus, but do you ever wonder if these authorities are serving the people or if they're serving the system?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think they, I mean, yeah, the system, right? Is the whole thing. Like when people are saying, when Donald Trump came out and his slogan was "Make America Great Again," like, was America ever great to start with? And I was having a conversation yesterday with someone about that, not "Make America Great," but about kind of like patriotism or whatever. And I just don't know if I like is America great for these reasons, or is it just, like, I should I be thankful to live in a country because it could be worse in another country? Like, I don't know if that makes it great, right? I think it makes it not as bad as like what's happening in another country, but I don't know if that's great, right? And I so like, should I be I'm thankful for the opportunities that I have here, and I have to recognize like the privilege I have being, like I'm white. You know what I mean? And so I have to recognize like that, just based on that, I'm going to get farther than a lot of people, and especially being born like a straight male, I'm going to get the system has me set up for larger success. And I just I don't know. Like I think the whole thing is broken. So like going back to kind of what you're saying, like yes, like the police force is like is a is a is a huge problem. I think this country is like deeply rooted in that, but at the same time, I'm doing my best to like focus on the matters at hand, because the more that our our view changes, right? Like was like, oh, okay, the police is the problem, but really what we should be doing is attacking here. Really, what we need to be doing is attacking here. Like we start to kind of disorganize ourselves, and so like I think we need to recognize like there's going to be steps about it, and we're going to have to do it like one at a time. I think if we take down here, does that necessarily mean all of these systems are going to fall? I don't know. I don't know if I don't know, but my focus has really been, in my part with talking with people, has been like, let's focus on what is happening. Don't let anything else like distract you. Like we have to focus right here, you know, um, work towards change here, and then work towards change in other systems. I saw a good article today about I woke. I've only been awake for an hour, and I've read a couple of things before joining. About we have to start putting our focus and our funds in other like social programs, and and when you have social programs, you have employment rates, you have all of these things. Like you start to see like crime go down, right? And if crime is going down, like what is the police there for? Because the police is equipped for only crime, right? You call them when there's nothing else left to do. So you can't call them to mediate an argument. Like they aren't equipped for that. They have guns and batons and handcuffs. Like their tools are violent tools. So
Man, because I think like there is one great problem with the world and no one speaks about it, like capitalism. It is like one of the fucking great problems of the world, because if the world turns like around money, like there's interest, and there's
oh
interest
yeah,
like even with the disease there's interest. Even with inequality, and like there's interest, like, and it's always like financial interest, and like, so, like, there's like a song where it says that money is the root of all evil. I don't believe that, but I do believe that how people with great power apply their money, it's to divide us instead of getting us all together, because human beings have the power to change, and all human beings together have the power to change. There's
yeah.
like, we are strong. I do believe that we are strong, and we should aim for change, for a proactive and positive change in the world, man. And
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's like I believe that. I don't like I'm going to be educating myself like forever, right? Like before this, I wanted to educate myself more in like spirituality, and and I just had something inside of me. I don't remember what it was, that I was just like, I was like reading this really great 90s hardcore book. It's called Burning Fight, and it's like the spirit and like the ethics and like the politics and the spirituality between 90s hardcore. And I was reading this, and it was so inspiring that these bands were coming out and saying like, no, we need to talk about these things. And they were having different ideas, and they were having these different conversations, and they were talking about like um, they were talking about like all of these problems that we are, people have always been talking about, but especially in like a music that I connected with, they were really talking about it. And so then it shifted my focus away from like spirituality into like more like um, issues like that are going on like right now. And so I have a whole stack of books that I'm reading. So I'm going to be like forever educating myself. Um, and so like I don't know very much like about how to change this whole thing, but I just said in the beginning or earlier of this topic that it's going to be a long time. And I don't, so when I said like, is this going to be the last time it happens? No, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen, because it's like we're going to have to be continuously like chipping away at it, and just to get to a point where I think everybody wants, right? Like, equality for all, and treating each other the way that we want to be treated. That's going to be like a long period of history. But you kind of have to like take a deep breath, and even every like day where you're like you're feeling like mentally like taxed or whatever, you kind of go to bed and take a deep breath and do it again, right? So
fuck yeah, man. No, I'm with you that on that one, man. And I do believe that like is also important, like not to lose like I mean, the focus of fighting against a system cannot like put your energy away of that the fact that you're living your own life as well.
yeah,
uh it's we're all here as individuals like for a really like short time, and like if we compare to the universe, like the existence of the universe and stuff, like our period that we're here on earth is like a snap. so
yeah,
so it's really important that we as you said, continue to educate ourselves, to learn things, to be the best version of ourselves every day, so we can address everything, you know. So we're like powerful, not powerful in the way of like having money, like, but powerful within, to
Yeah.
take care of ourselves, our health, our mental health, physical health, the problems of the world, address like stuff, like we have to be the best version of ourselves to project that best of us into the world, you know.
Yeah, and I truly believe it. Um, I believe it starts with education. I'm trying to like educate my mom. My mom is on like the is like on the good side, or you know, the right side of things. It's hard to say like right, because then people think like left and right wing. You know, she's on like the right side of this fight, but I'm also trying to educate her more and more, just to like to stay that way. Because then when you're educated, you have these conversations with people, you're going to say something that someone's going to go, oh shit, that makes sense, you know, and they're not going to forget that, and they're not going to like forget that 30 seconds of that conversation or something. And you and people wouldn't be able to have that if they're not educating themselves. And so like I'm constantly trying to like stay like smart and start to like, when I have these conversations, I want to have, I, Scott can agree, I love having uncomfortable conversations. Like that is like my bread and butter, because it forces you to, it forces you to realize like, why are you uncomfortable? Like what did he say that made me uncomfortable? And then you kind of go like, oh shit, is that a problem? Like, is what he
It's a
said?
good it's a good therapy.
Yeah, I
Because
love
you will
uncomfortable
you be,
problem.
like one of those conversations are like, some of those conversations are important to like figure out which topics triggers you, and like what make it's good to
Yeah.
understand what makes us uncomfortable and to overcome those things, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I like I'm trying not I'm trying to not forget kind of like my own life. Like that's like a privilege, right? Because there's like so many things that are happening in the world that other people don't have the time and energy to forget, right? Especially like our Black community, like they don't, they can't go home and just be like, oh, I'm gonna watch TV. Like no, they're literally out there fighting for like their lives to come home. Like you know, they can't go to fucking Taco Bell and come home, you know, because you don't know, they don't know what's going to happen in that mile drive, right? And I can do that, unfortunately, with my like privilege. So, um, so I try and remember that, and try and be very like um, cognizant of that fact, that like when I'm taking a break, like some people don't get to do that. So like I've I've been using like my like I don't have a platform. I think the only platform I have is like my like privilege, I guess. So I've been trying to use it to elevate things when I can. So there hasn't been very many posts about like
No, man,
records or you know,
but
family
this
or whatever.
even this talk is like a platform, and it's a platform for for you to use and for you to express yourself, you know. And dude, I do think that like a conversation like this, or a conversation with your family, or like even just a post or something, it's a conversation, it's a start of human interaction, you know. It's a celebration of human existence, you know. People sharing ideas, people discuss like people sharing and talking about different ideas and opinions. This moves the world forward, you know. Like
Yeah,
it's important that we all come to a place of acceptance of people's ideologies, so we can actually turn them around, you know. Like because we need to like we need above all, we need to respect life, you know.
yeah,
Like
respect for all life and all genders and all races and all cultures, and yeah, and I I also feel um, I was having a conversation with Ashley yesterday about like my like or different social media platforms. So like I come from like the punk rock and like the hardcore community, and that's super or not super progressive, but like more progressive than other like
Exactly.
communities. So my like Instagram and my Twitter is like there is very much like an echo chamber, and I think um I like it just goes like especially with like the 2016 election, like it just blew my mind. But then I have to recognize that, like, well, yeah, all I'm seeing are Bernie Sanders posts because that's all the people that I follow, right? Like, it was such a surprise to me because it is so much of like a like all of my friends were for Bernie Sanders and not Donald Trump. So to see like Donald Trump, you're like, where did this come from? And it's like, well, like our like my focus is like here. So like I think Facebook, and Ashley and I were having this conversation. Is like, I think Facebook is like the guy that runs Facebook is like super evil and is like a fucking robot. You know what I mean? But I have my Facebook because that is the non-echo chamber right now, and I'm just seeing all of these people that are having these conversations is on Facebook. Like my Instagram, like I'm not having uncomfortable conversations on Instagram or on Twitter, but on Facebook is where everyone is like has an opinion on something. And so like I'm that's where like I feel like I'm doing a lot of like conversation and a lot of posting or whatever. And I mean I want to delete my Facebook, and I think um I don't want to say when this is over because I don't think it's going to be over. But the goal was to delete my Facebook. But that's just like where these conversations are happening, and so I hope people that are watching kind of recognize, like, take a step, look at their social media, think, am I preaching to the choir? And if that is the case, I don't want to tell people how to protest. Think about it, and then figure out where can they do more work, if that makes sense. You know, um,
No,
that's
that makes total sense, man. I totally get, and I'm sure like other people will get your message too, brother.
yeah. And you and I come from the same um, community, like punk rock and hardcore, and I we are very lucky that we were kind of indoctrinated with this at an early age.
Oh,
Um,
dude, like punk rock teaches you there's no races, no like it's we're all good. We're all good in the same place, listening to the same music and having fun, celebrating life, celebrating energy. Like this, like that's punk rock for me. Like equality. Like there's no rich, poor, black, white. It's just like kids having fun, like all together. For one purpose.
yeah, and and that's like I'm trying to think of how to say this. Like I I've appreciated that because that is like a very I personally view that as like a very like kind of like a higher like level of thinking, like, right, like a thinking in like spirituality terms, like that's like a very spiritual way to like think, right. And I appreciate that because then people see like punk and hardcore and think it's like they're just angry. It's like that's like a very like elevated way of thinking. Um and then like there's a level of thinking where uh I try and like stay between both, because like celebrating like these different cultures and these different races and these things are cultures and races and genders is very important because I love there's differences, like, and you know seeing all of these things, like I don't know, um, how do I say this, I don't know how my life would be different if I didn't have all of these other cultures. Like my dad grew up in Oakland in the 50s and in the 60s, and so like a lot of my upbringing was in part of his being exposed to like black culture. And so like literally this conversation, you and I right now, like I don't know if I would be here if it wasn't for that. Like I grew up listening to Chuck Berry and Otis Redding and Sam Cooke. My son's name is Sam. I named him after Sam Cooke, like one of the greatest singers of all time, right? Like, um, uh, it's I don't know if I would be here for that. I don't know what I would be listening to if it wasn't for that. Like I don't know if I would have gotten into punk rock, right? Because like
Exactly.
listening to Chuck Berry got me into my brother-in-law taking me to see Metallica, which got me into punk rock, which took me around the world, which is how we met, which is how we're doing this, right? And it's like, what is the catalyst? Is the catalyst my dad showing me his records? No, my catalyst was like the creation of like rock and roll by like Chuck Berry and Little Richard, who was like a gay black man in the 50s who literally paved his own way. You know what I mean? So it's like we like I try and recognize like we're all we're all like kind of like one people, and then also have to like celebrate like all of these like separate cultures, right? It is like a
It's
difference, but it's
acceptance, I
like
think. It's I think it's like it comes to like terms of acceptance is like if you accept every culture and every race and every um like yeah, that I think what you yeah, what I understood from your words is that we have to like come to a place of acceptance, you know, and I think punk rock teaches us that
oh
also.
110%. I mean, like I can think of I can think of moments in my life where I I don't think I was having a conversation with someone yesterday. I there wasn't like very many moments where I went like, oh, this is where I'm like doing things wrong, right? But I can think of like, here's where I didn't understand things most, and here's where I was like uneducated, or here's where I had to have a moment where I went, oh, that makes sense. And listening to punk rock bands like made me. My friend Jess is on. I was having a conversation literally with Jess about this, where I was talking about um, uh, like toxic masculinity and like these moments where I was like, I know the punk rock band that said something the year like the Latterman record, no matter where we go. I heard that and I went, oh shit, like this is I get what they're trying to say, right? Like that was like punk rock, and
Yeah,
so I'm very lucky to have been exposed to that type of music and and these ways of thinking, like, it's I'm very lucky. We're very lucky, and I think everyone that's probably listening is in the
yeah.
same boat, right? Because
Exactly.
they're all here, and so. But there's also like there's a lot of punk bands still learning, and there's a lot of like hardcore bands still learning. There's a lot of bands still making mistakes, and so
It is
it's you know
it is the human nature.
yeah, just but education, like continue educating yourself, continue reading, continue watching things, continue reading different pieces. Don't and this is where differences are good, because you'll read something and you'll go, oh, well, this is a word, like this makes sense. Like someone was telling me about someone was telling me like Ben and Jerry's has like this really big campaign right now, and Ben and Jerry's is kind of, I've always thought, to be on the right side of things. I know that in the 90s, like the owner was like talking about like donating for like Mumia in Philadelphia, who was convicted of killing a cop, and so then they put out this really great statement, and everyone's been really about it. And then there was a friend of mine who's like on the same side, who today posted like a piece that was like, yes, like this is good, but you can't forget they're being backed by this corporation who is doing this and this and this and this. So it's like continuously educating differences
Exactly.
in opinions, right? Like are can be beneficial, because then it can continue to like elevate that thinking. And so like I'm after this I'm going to read more about
I
Ben and
I
Jerry's. But
I completely yeah, I completely agree with what you say, man. And I think, dude, like oh yeah, I just checked the clock now. We've been talking for 50 minutes, dude.
oh, nice.
And man, this conversation was really nice. thank you for being able to first talk about a little bit of your experience and how we met and everything, and then
Oh yeah,
thank you for your availability on speaking about this subject that
yeah,
is
yeah,
obviously a hard one to talk to about, but I think is one that is, especially in this moment, like needed to be talked about, you know.
yeah.
So so
It's yeah, and I hope I there's going to be points I miss, and there's probably going to be points where I possibly was not correct, and so like if anyone's listening to this, like please reach out because I'm interested. Education, education, education. Educate me. Every argument I get on, or well, argument conversation I get on Facebook, if someone's trying to point a different view, I say, well then educate me. I want to know your view because if I'm wrong, like show me I'm wrong. But if you can't show me I'm wrong, then possibly I might be right, which I unselfishly live for. So
nah,
which is
man,
messed up as a
this
problem.
is really good advice, and I advise everybody to do the same. Like, read different opinions, different kind of, like, because it doesn't harm you. It makes you think with your own head. That's
Yeah,
that's what it makes you think.
you can
And
get 20 minutes into reading something and you can go, "This is bullshit," and
exactly,
then you put it down. You know what I mean? And so
yeah,
and then
there is
and you
no harm
solidify
in
yourself.
reading stuff and
Yeah,
informing yourself. That, yeah,
yeah.
perfect.
So
Dude, man,
I
thank
appreciate
you
you
so
talking.
much,
Yeah, man.
brother. Thank
Yeah,
you so
I
much for your time.
yeah I hopefully we can. I know we took a portion away of talking about the band and the story, but you coming out to California with now Scott and Kyle and I want to come to Portugal and learn more about like my Portuguese roots. We've been talking about this. So unfortunately, like the COVID is happening, but once that happens, I'm gonna learn more. I want to learn more Portuguese other than like Portuguese slang. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So
No, dude, for sure, brother. And when the situation is better with traveling and stuff, we'll
yeah.
figure out with Leslie's Mass Daydream show, like over this side of the ocean
Oh
now.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you
Cool,
for having
brother.
me. This was rad. I see like a ton of friends who have been joining in, and so hopefully
No, dude.
they're taken away from it.
No, man. Thank you so much for your time, for your energy, and I hope you have a good day because the
Cool,
day
man.
started there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Here is already evening. Like, my light is like getting less and less and less as we speak.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I felt bad. I was like drinking my coffee throughout this, but I literally like woke up, read a couple things, and then like made some coffee. So
Oh, Mike is there.
yeah, I
Good.
know. What's up, Mike? You know.
Good. No, but yeah, brother. Thank you so much. We'll
Cool.
we'll speak. We'll speak soon. And anytime you want to come here and speak to this platform, this is your platform, and as well as is mine and everybody's.
Awesome.
So thank you for joining, brother.
All right, man. Love you. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, bye, man.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye. So thank you so much for watching this episode. We did a little something a little bit different this time because I thought it was good to touch about this subject. And yeah, another week has passed by, and thank you for watching this program. Tomorrow I'm gonna announce the third week, and yeah, thank you so much once again. I'm gonna make some dinner now. Bye bye.